Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison. Welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have Neal Goffman and Melanie Weires with GrowPath, a case management system that I have reviewed and is very energetically endorsed this software. It's pretty neat. So welcome to our show, y'all.
Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate you having us.
Yeah. So Neal is the CEO of GrowPath, and I guess artificial intelligence powered cloud-based case management system involving for client intake solutions, also for attorneys and paralegals at small to mid-size and large firms to pretty much help you handle a high volume of cases and make sure nothing slips through the cracks. That's the main thing that case management systems are made for. And I don't know what we did before we had them, but I don't know what we did before we had computers either, or iPhones. We just, do the best we can. And you got a pretty big history there. Can you tell us a little bit about your history? It looks like you've launched a bunch of companies and made somebody a lot of money.
Yeah, we've had a fun run so far in the software space. So my last venture was with a company called Vanguards Software. We focused in the predictive and prescriptive analytics space, AI for supply chains. We were acquired by a company by the name of Wolters Kluwer. It's a multi-billion-dollar company that's been around for quite some time. Worked for IBM for close to a decade, did another startup in the middle of IBM that we sold to Informatica. Most of my background has been in the analytics and how organizations can leverage data to maximize their performance, whether it's revenue growth or efficiencies. That's mostly where I've played.
Melanie, can you tell us about your background?
Yeah, I'm the former COO, CMO of a multi-location, multi-state PI law firm. We operated in Iowa and Illinois. I was there for about 3.5 years, and I like increasing the ROI. So GrowPath was definitely very strategic and helpful in us doing that at that law firm. So
let me ask both of y'all, because Melanie, you came from law firms, but Neal, you came from a whole different place. What can law firms learn from other industries?
So I'll take a first crack at that. One of my initial observations, as I've only recently started enjoying the legal space in late 21, is how to leverage some of the state-of-the-art technologies to improve their firm's performance. And that is both from a revenue generation perspective and from an efficiency perspective. The technologies have been proven in other industries for many, many years now. I mean, we did things a decade ago that I still have yet to see some law firms adopt. And the nice thing is it's hardened. These are assets, these are technologies that are not in an infancy. And so we found ways to leverage best practices with these technologies to make them easily adoptable and manageable for firms of any size. This could be a firms of 2-3 people that are just starting off today and have the ability to leverage artificial intelligence. For example, machine learning algorithms. They don't need to understand anything, but they just need to understand the recommendation that the algorithm is giving and how to leverage it. And that's one of the exciting things is we have a wealth of capabilities at GrowPath and even more coming out every day that we can really change the game for small law firms, even large law firms, and the way they perform and the way they end up, delivering value for their customers.
Yeah, so prior to the law firm that I was at, I actually worked at the Hahn Company, which is the second largest furniture manufacturer in North America. And I was heading up the marketing for Hahn inside both Staples and Office Depot. Prior to that, my background is a lot of banking and insurance. And one of the things that, to Neal's point, the law firm industry is a little bit behind the times in getting on board with technology and BI and algorithms. And you can really see an immediate impact when you bring on a software like GrowPath. In the 3.5 years that I was at the law firm, we more than doubled our income. There were we were coming from needles. Needles had been around for about 30 years and people used it in various different ways. It did not have the power that GrowPath has in order to track your marketing sources, your intakes, your case conversion, your growth rate. Those are all things that you can pretty much get out of the box with GrowPath. It's a very powerful tool. And I obviously believed in the software enough that I asked if I could come work for them. So
Yeah. You like the old commercial, I like the razor so much I bought it. Yeah. I think that was Gillette or something. But, you're both right, though. Law firms have always, in my opinion, been behind in technology and in marketing. We're slow to catch up. And I think it's got a lot to do, to be honest with you, is for years and years and years, law firms have been run like a profession, not like a business. And, you're seeing, you've got your outliers that are very sophisticated, but for the most part, most lawyers, they don't teach you anything in law school about business or numbers or marketing. They just teach you how to think and how to be a lawyer. Same thing for doctors. I mean, it's the same type of deal. So I see that. And one of the things that we here at PILMA the Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing Management Association, we're trying to bridge that gap and bring on great vendors like you and great speakers and things. I know Mr. Sanchez, who was kind of like the backbone of this thing when it first got started years ago. And by the way, he was my biggest competitor when I was practicing law. So I respect them and admire what they've done, because I was battling back in the mid to late 90s, a long time ago, probably before you guys were born. But yeah, so I agree with you wholeheartedly. So what do you see the challenges that law firms are facing right now?
The biggest challenge that I see is really lack of accurate and timely reporting. I've seen several case management systems, various versions of Needles. I've seen Law Ruler. I've seen FileVine. And one of the biggest strong points of GrowPath is accurate and timely reporting. And you are correct, Ken. A lot of lawyers don't have business degrees. I happen to have a business degree. The principal that I worked for at the law firm actually had a very good head for business. And so, kind of gave me carte blanche to bring on GrowPath, because he knew and understood how important the timely and accurate reporting is, because we're trying to figure out how many staff to order from an intake perspective. We started an intake department, where to put our marketing dollars. All of that information you can get from a click of a button in GrowPath. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And then, using that information to make informed business decisions.
Yeah, I'll tack onto that, actually, Ken. One of the things that we're going to be unveiling at PILMA are some new state-of-the-art, out-of-the-box ROI dashboards. And we're going to be focusing a lot of those ROI dashboards around marketing. So your participants down at PILMA are going to get a bit of a treat there. So we're going to be able to show by channel attribution the ROI for every dollar spent that a law firm should be tracking. And they should know exactly, the lead attribution, the ROI, how long it takes, and going into different dimensions as far as, okay, let's drill through that. Let's get a better understanding of where these ads are actually getting us a better ROI from a geography basis, from what demographics, and really drill into the layers of the data.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, y'all are going to be speaking. I don't know who's going to be from your company, but y'all are going to be speaking the first day of our PILMA Super Summit, which is our 13th year, by the way. And so it's June the 27th through the 29th at the Ritz-Carlton in New Orleans. So all you listeners out there, if you hadn't signed up, we're going to sell out. It's way above where it was last year with the COVID and everything. Mm-hmm. And we've got over 27 speakers and that are going to be talking about everything like technology, how to keep your employees, how to hire A players, what to do when the 800-pound gorilla comes in, how to think outside the box. I'm going to talk about the 5 keys to scaling up a law firm. And so, yeah, it's going to be a great event. I look forward. I hope you're going to be there. Melanie and Neal, I want to meet you, and I want to see these dashboards, because when I practiced law, we didn't have those things. And I was a numbers guy from way back, and I was steadily had my graph paper and my ruler and my pencil, and I would graph out stuff. I would get the little needle reports. Then I'd take that, because they didn't have AI, they wouldn't let you, and I don't think they still do let you go in there behind their machine. And maybe you guys want to talk about that, because that's very important now. If a case management system doesn't have it where you can port into it, I don't think it's worth having anymore, to be honest with you, because there's so much stuff out there that you want to be able to connect. Like you say, there's so much technology out there that's been in use for 10 years that if you could slide it in, and I'm not a techie, believe me, I mean, I don't even know how to type, but I do know that there's so many things out there that if you can, pull it together and let it talk to each other, that it can do some great things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ken. And I will be there and look forward to meeting you in person. And you're right, bringing all of that data from third-party sources, i.e., TV buys, if you're doing TV buys or radio ads or Google pay-per-click, we're bringing in all of that data and we're bringing it into a centralized view. So you have a true command, almost a control panel of your firm's spend as it pertains to its marketing dollars, and know where you should put the pedal down. We're going to go even further. We're forecasting out cash flows. Can you imagine, Ken, when you were sitting back managing your firm and you actually could say come August of 2022, how much cash you'll have come into the door? That's the type of business levers and controls that we're bringing now to these clients. So we're going to show the actual ROI down to every lawyer, every paralegal, how much revenue they brought in versus their cost and fully loaded cost. So that ROI, if I bring on another paralegal, if I bring on another lawyer, how long will it take for them to be delivering a payback and what that payback will be. That's the type of transparency that analytics can really deliver to a firm that wants to grow from 5-person to 15 to 30.
So y'all said 2 things. You talked about data, and you talked about, you call it AI, but it's automation. Anytime you can automate, right? It's funny because last year my big theme at Pilma was we're going to be data driven. This year my big focus has been on automation. Any way we can figure out how to automate something, to make it easier, make it more efficient. So, and I've been preaching that to the law firms too, because I think that is here's the deal. The cost per case is going up on all media. Okay. I could get in that talk for 3 or 4 hours. We're not going to. Just suffice to say, that's the climate we're in right now. And so you've got very hard to get lawyers to raise their fees over a third. Some states actually prohibit you doing it and got caps. So how are you going to make more money? You got to get your costs down, on doing the case, and you got to know where your stuff's coming from, so you know how to take your marketing monies and where to put them and where to allocate them. And sounds like to me, all this software you got is going to help a lot with that.
Exactly. It's exactly right.
So maybe I answered my own question. I was going to ask you, how does your software help overcome these challenges? I might have stole the floor, and I apologize for that.
Well, it's okay. It's more than that. But Melanie, why don't you talk about some of the other benefits you saw personally as a user and what you're also seeing from helping other clients today?
Yeah, so one of the things I think that GrowPath does better than a lot of the other software out there, and not just because I happen to work on this portion too, in addition to the reporting, but getting your data into GrowPath in a way that you are able to accurately report on. So if you have that data in your old legacy system, we're going to bring that in and we're going to transform it to go into GrowPath so that you're not losing all the historical information. And we are able to bring that information in from multiple systems. When I was at the firm, we were operating in Law Ruler as an intake system and Needles as a case management system, and they weren't talking to each other. And so then you can, I don't know if anybody out there has heard of tabs, but we were using tabs, for all of our expenses. So, you have a plethora of systems that don't talk to each other. So that was really, really difficult. And the thing is with GrowPath, one-stop solution. We've got intake management, case management, integrations with QuickBooks, integrations with phone systems. So it really becomes a lot easier to pull your information in an accurate and understandable manner. So you can imagine, me sitting behind my desk, pulling information from here and putting it into Excel, which isn't a strong suit for a lot of people, but putting it into Excel and trying to make sense of it and make business decision from it. You don't have to know Excel or know how to pull the information from all of those systems, because we're going to take your legacy data, your current stuff, we're going to put it all together into a dashboard and report on that. So you can imagine, prior to implementing GrowPath, not all of our intakes were going into the system. They weren't being tracked. They weren't being followed up on. So GrowPath really allowed us to automatically put in all of those leads from our websites, from the tracked marketing numbers, from the chat on our website. We had a third-party call system for after hours and holidays. So that's all just funneling into GrowPath. So we're tracking more intakes. We're able to create tasks for our intake staff automatically to follow up at certain intervals. We've got automatic emails and text messages going out through GrowPath. So we're not only, having our intake staff reach out via phone, but there's also automated marketing, and all of that stuff and all of those results are coming into GrowPath and being processed so that myself and the firm principal, the owner, could go in on a daily basis and see reports. He wasn't super tech savvy. That's the thing. We had a lot of people on staff that you wouldn't consider tech savvy. We had a wonderful, wonderful lady who was nearing retirement. She was even able to use GrowPath. From the firm principal perspective, we're automatically emailing reports every day for caseload for attorneys and paralegals. And so all of these things together, all of these levers that GrowPath is able to pull, allowed us to almost triple our intakes in the span of about 2 years, triple the intakes and more than double, almost triple the income that we were having before. Like, it's just unheard of numbers. I know that it sounds unbelievable, but I was tracking it. It's the truth.
I've been consulting for the last 10 years, and I go to law firms, and one of the deals I always did was I'd hire out about 4 or 5 ghost calls. And I do it now for our masterminds. We're doing now, the big challenge is the online stuff. People are not, these lawyers are just letting money float away. I'm telling you, I did a test, and I'm not going to say, but of over 80 lawyers, and over half of them took over 24 hours, if they even answered at all at a website inquiry, an online inquiry to their website. So, yeah, it's, I've always said that was where there's always the most leakage of anytime you go in, and I'm trying to help a firm figure out how to, raise their margins, make more money, get a better ROI on their marketing spend. That's always the Achilles heel everywhere. Yeah. I mean, even good firms are not perfect. I mean, because I love it when they say, "Oh, we sign up every case we want." And I said, "Well, what's your percent?" "I don't know. We just sign up every case." Then I know they don't know. They don't have a clue. And I said, "Well, then I always kind of smirk, and I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna really help you make some money now, because you don't think you don't know what you don't know, right?" That's the deal. I mean, but there's so much money. I would say that is the number one thing where lawyers are losing the most money, is on intake and not taking care of the intake, and not, what I try to do now is tell people, you want to look at not how many you converted out of how many calls you got or inquiries, but what's the percentage you want to get. Around 90 to 95% of the cases you want, because as we know, we don't want all the cases when they come in, because there's a lot of them are junk, or they got nothing to do with our practice areas. Now, I got a question for this, and probably more for Melanie, Neal, because you've not been in this, but maybe so. Here's the biggest deal I see when I get lawyers to go to a case management system, their staff is always fighting it. Nobody loves change. Everybody hates change. They don't want it. We do it faster our old way and they probably do to start with because they got to learn it, right?
Yep.
So what's your advice to those people out there or lawyers that's going through this? Because I've had 2 or 3 lawyers in the last 2 weeks have approached me about this. It's common. This episode is brought to you by Pilma Super Summit. June the 27th through the 29th, you can come and learn how to take your law firm to the next level in New Orleans at the fabulous Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Go to pilma.org/summit.
Yes, absolutely. It's really common. Our recommendations are that you have to have what we call a project champion. So, and it's not just top down. Your firm principal, first of all, has to be on board. They have to want it, and that has to be the message, the consistent message. And then if you get a project champion from each department, someone that very much is on board with the software and bringing it on board, they're able to champion the project internally. We have a wonderful onboarding team, and I don't just say that because I'm on the onboarding team. We have a wonderful onboarding team at GrowPath that's there every step of the way, but we can't be at the law firms 24/7 championing the project. So you do have to have some internal folks that really support it and really, maybe some of those more tech savvy people that understand how to use the software, because those are the folks that, from a project team perspective, your less tech savvy people are going to go to first to ask questions. And the message at the firm has to be, consistent. And I find, or at least I found when we were bringing the software on, giving the people the reasons why we were bringing the software on. Sometimes it's really a good thing to be transparent and to simply say, this is a business decision. We're not able to get X, Y, and Z reporting. So therefore, we need to bring on a system that can. And this is how, and then also supporting it with, this is how we can help you do your job better. So all of those things work together from my perspective. One of the things that I did internally at the firm that I was at, after not only before GrowPath launched, while we were going through the initial trainings, but even after GrowPath launched, I was the head of the project, but I would send out a daily hack of, hey, this is how, this works in the system. And a lot of the times those hacks would be coming from the staff themselves. I would get a question about, hey, how do I do this? Or this doesn't work the way I think that it should. And I would send that out to the entire firm and send that hack out and explain it via email, but then also, did little videos. So I found that things like that from your project champions go a long way to getting all of your staff on board. And like I said, we had a wonderful lady who was nearing retirement who preferred paper for everything. You'd walk into her cubicle and there'd be paper files everywhere. And she was even getting into the system. So her favorite thing to say to me every day was, hey, Melanie, I signed into the system and I put X, Y, and Z in there. So all those things work together to help get people on board.
One thing I'll add to that, Ken, because change management, it's not unique to legal tech. Change management, I ran $100 million business unit at IBM implementing very large systems. Change management at the government, at healthcare, it doesn't matter. Change is human nature. But one of the approaches that I found very successful that we have adopted at GrowPath is an iterative approach to exposure to the software through multiple releases. So the user base gets exposed to the software throughout the duration of the project versus a big bang. Here's your software. You have 3 days to go in and learn it, and then you're live. That's the absolute worst approach. And that's what most of this market does today. We take a completely different approach. The users go in from literally the beginning of the project and working with a very vanilla system, getting used to the interface, getting used to the way you can enter in data. And they have subsequent releases of the software throughout the project. They're called alpha releases and beta releases. And then we have a duration for UAT, where the users are running in parallel to their existing systems, making sure that everything's working in continuity, integrations are working, the expected outcomes are occurring, ledger settlements, whatever it might be. That's a key component too. We want to make sure the users are entrenched before the actual cutover. So those are some lessons learned that I've taken from years in this domain, as far as software domain, that we're now applying it to legal tech.
Two things that I remember when I got my last software was, number one, whatever they offered me in training, I wanted twice as much, even if I had to pay for it.
Yep.
Because I don't think you can ever get enough training. And I did. I think I bought like an extra 5 days of training. Another thing, and maybe y'all might have a different take on it. If you do, I want you to enlighten me and our viewers and listeners. I only had one person that had the golden key to go in there and change forms or change things. I did not want a lot of hands involved in it, because then if something gets screwed up, everybody's gonna be pointing the finger. I don't know, but as technology's come so far, that my old way of thinking might not even be right today. Is that still the way y'all look at it, or what?
So it depends on what the activity level is. There are certainly permissions that should be granted to certain users and user types, and different permissions to administrators. I would recommend, though, it's always good to have more than one administrator in case that person does leave or is out sick, or for whatever reason unable to perform their job. So having a backup is always recommended. But yes, there's a reason why a system like ours has an excruciatingly detailed level of permissions, both from a function perspective and access to data, because there are certain private things you do not want available to all users. And you also don't want to have certain users having the ability to break, so to speak, the system. So you are correct in that assumption, but there are some lessons learned as far as not having a single point of failure within your firm, why you want to have backups.
That makes sense. And I think I did have a girl that was underneath, but she knew how to do it, but she still didn't have the key unless you know what I'm saying? But yeah, but you're right. And I think the girl that we had, she just never missed work hardly, so we were lucky.
Yep.
So we're getting close to running out of time, but I wanted to give you some parting words of wisdom, and then give us some contact information, and we'll go from there.
One thing I want to identify out, Melanie talked about how GrowPath is a one-stop shop, and that is true. You can do everything from intake to lead scoring to case management to leveraging the analytics and what we call the office optimizer. But we've made a strategic decision to allow firms to leverage the best of the capabilities that we offer in different modules, because we do realize swapping out your case management system is painful and time consuming. It's a big investment, but there are deficiencies in a lot of the case management systems out there. So they can go buy our office optimizer and bolt that on the Filevine, or bolt that on to Litify, or whatever product they chose. Same thing for our intake solution. So we have enabled all of our best of breed approaches, because we are really well known for our analytics and the intake and case management. We're very strong in as well, but let's just call it what it is. That's not something that's earth staggeringly different in the market. There are some features here or there, but most of the case management systems do 90% of what each other does. The differentiator for us is the intake and the analytics, and we've now enabled clients to just buy those components, one or both, should they choose to. Lessons learned, just make sure, ask the firms, if you're looking at a new case management or any software, what it's like to get the data out. Because we tell all of our clients, anytime you want the data, there's a button, you can download it and take it and go. We are not worried about a client leaving. We have a very high renewal rate, some of the best in the industry. We only ask our clients to sign for a 1-year term. Competitors in the space do 2 or 3 years. Why? Because they don't want to leave. We earn your business every year. Make sure if you work with another vendor, make them only lock you in, so to speak, for 1 year, and go through and find out what it's like to get the data out and how easy that is. Those are 2 big lessons that the market needs to wisen up to.
I've heard horror stories in some of my masterminds about it taking up to a year to get the data transferred from their old case management to the new one. I mean, really, actually almost a year. I think it was like 11 months.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to capitalize on what Neal was saying, bringing on, changing and moving to a different platform, it can be a bit painful. And so with our data migration onboarding process, we try to, make it iterative and break it out so that it isn't overwhelming, because we here at GrowPath, we do understand everybody has an actual full-time job. It's very rare that, you'd have a dedicated resource whose only job is to work on onboarding a new software. And my biggest lesson learned from when I was a customer bringing on GrowPath, just, slow down. I understand, like, you want the new system yesterday, but there's a reason we bake out the timeframes and outline the timeframes that we do, because if you try to stack all of those pieces on top of each other, you're not going to be able to actually work your cases at the same time. So that was probably the biggest lesson that I learned as a GrowPath customer.
If I remember correctly, two things I want to talk about is, number one is a law firm created this. James Scott Ferris law firm, they're the ones that created this with him, and I don't know who else, and they got the largest, I might be wrong, but I think they got the largest PI law firm in North Carolina now.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think they are there now. And the other thing is, if I remember correctly, I was actually in a lawyer's doing a consult the other day, and they're onboarding with y'all, and y'all have videos too. It's not long, so paralegals can get on there and watch, or administrators or whatever can watch and learn that way too, or if they got to have a refresher course. So I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, we're rapidly expanding the library of videos to help existing users and new users, because listen, there will be attrition. You will have resources that churn. And the goal is to make the software as easy as possible so new users can come on and within a few days be up and running. But there is the need for that onboarding of those new users to have access to documentation, access to how-to videos, walk me videos, to improve that outcome and shorten that life cycle.
So have y'all come up with a name for the the intake part and the analytics part that you can buy separate?
Yeah, I mean, the analytics part is called the Office Optimizer.
Okay.
It does exactly what it says. So it literally will optimize all aspects of your firm. So from marketing, the front end, through your operations, through the financials. So it's all aspects. And then the GrowPath intake solution for now is just called that. It's GrowPath intake. So we have those three disparate solutions, or discrete solutions, I should say, available. And we're really excited about that, because we've had a lot of firms say, you know what, we love all the dashboards, we love all the insight, but man, we just bought a new case management system last year, or we really just need the intake. We don't want to rip out our case management. So we listened and said, you know what, here you go.
I want to thank both of you. If somebody wants to get up and talk more about the different programs you got here, how can they do that?
So they can head on out to our website, which is just www.growpath.com, and do a web chat, or they can submit a form and we can have someone from sales reach out to them. They can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm sure Melanie would welcome any connections as well. Happy to talk to anyone who's interested in learning, whether or not we're the right fit for them. Happy to just give any advice we can with regards to anything in the domain that we have experience in. It's really just great to help others.
Listen, I look forward to seeing y'all. Y'all gonna have a booth. You're gonna be speaking at our summit in less than 2 months, June 27th to 29th in Ritz-Carlton at the New Orleans. So I hope to see you there.
Thank you, Ken. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.